If you're in the creative world, you've definitely heard the phrase. It gets whispered in those tense meetings or maybe muttered after a really tough client call. It's supposed to be this little release valve, right? But what if it's the very thing holding the entire industry back? Okay, let's get into it.
This. This right here is such a powerful truth and one we forget all the time. Look, we're not performing surgery, I get it, but what we do isn't trivial either. It's literally the cultural wallpaper of our lives. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We work in an industry that can genuinely shift culture, that can move people, and yet we so often downplay our own impact. And that mindset, well, it has some serious consequences. Yeah, it all starts with this one little phrase that's become a convenient and honestly a pretty dangerous lie. And let's be fair, the intention is good. In a super high stress, deadline driven business, it's a way of saying, hey, let's just keep some perspective here. It's supposed to be a reality check. And yeah, sometimes we need that. But here's the twist. That little pressure release valve, it way too often becomes an excuse. It turns into a justification for not pushing harder, for not taking that creative risk. And worst of all, it convinces the next generation of talent that their work is kind of meaningless, and that's the real danger. The excuse just kills the ambition that creates amazing work in the first place. So, okay, let's completely reframe this. Let's talk about what advertising actually does when it's firing on all cylinders. Just think about it for a second. Our work moves markets. It fuels business. It literally creates employment. And when it's done really, really well, it makes us feel something. It inspires us, it entertains us, it becomes a part of the conversation. It actually shapes culture. This is exactly it. Dismissing what we do as unimportant isn't humility. No way. It's just a profound underestimation of its real-world impact. It is well past time we pushed back against that cynicism. So how do we actually do that? Well, it starts with adopting a different set of values. Kind of like a manifesto for anyone who still believes creativity can change things. First step, we got to talk about our relationship with data. Look, data is fantastic for telling you what's already happened. It's a rearview mirror. But you can't drive a car forward by only looking back, right? The future is built on emotion and guts and courage, not just spreadsheets. I mean, seriously, can you imagine a focus group for that? Yeah, I'd really like my canned water to be called Liquid Death. No way. Bold new ideas hardly ever test well, and that's because they're unfamiliar. But those are the ideas that completely change the game. And that flows perfectly into our second principle. This is all about breaking free from that cycle of just making the next version of what somebody else is already doing. The real mission should be to create something truly new. Just try to imagine being in the room for that pitch. Okay, so there's a guy. He's in a towel, then he's on a boat, and now he's on a horse. It sounds completely absurd. It broke every single rule for a men's grooming ad. And today, it's considered one of the most iconic campaigns ever made. Breakthroughs come from instinct, not from a committee's approval. I just love this quote. It's this perfect reminder that sometimes the magic is in the surprise. The thing you can't quite explain, but it just connects with you on a gut level. Predictability is the absolute enemy of great creative. Which brings us to the human element. You simply cannot create work that moves people if the people making it don't believe in its power to begin with. You can't solve a relationship with an algorithm, it just doesn't work. Brands are built by people who genuinely care about connecting with other people. The moment you put cynics or pure number crunchers in charge of creativity, the whole industry just stagnates. We end up chasing metrics instead of meaning. And finally, the big one. We have to fundamentally change our definition of what success looks like. And here it is, the classic trade-off, right? You can absolutely chase those short-term profit targets to get a good quarterly report, but it almost always comes at the expense of long-term brand health. The great, brave, meaningful work is what builds brands that last for generations. And the beautiful irony, when you actually make the work the priority, the business results usually follow. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it boils down to a really simple but really powerful call to action. Let's just be honest with ourselves. There is a courage deficit in advertising right now. And the path back to being relevant, to being exciting, to having a real impact, it's not through more caution. It's not through making safer and safer choices. That is the only way forward. The industry is going to be revived by passionate people who aren't afraid to create things that feel new and different and important, because it is important.
So, after all that, the question isn't really for the industry, it's for you. The work you put out into the world has the power to shape things. So, which side are you on? Are you a skeptic? Are you a believer?